Hello and welcome to this episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And as you cannot see in the background, we are going to discuss Tony's program. It is actually not a book, it is a program of him about how to influence people and how to change people's mind and all these great kind of stuff. And as I was going through it a little bit before, I just seen that we are heading to a really, really great chapter right now, which is, I think, just one of the things that I really want to know. But before I'm going to start, I will just kind of introduce myself. So I'm Christopher Walch. I'm an 18-year-old graphic design student from Austria, and I'm very fucking pumped to go through this with you right now. I may sound a little bit nasal, because a little bit, not that working great with my nose right now. You know why? You really want to know why? Because I do not sleep. And if you do not sleep, you do not get enough rest, especially when you do just a lot of sports, as I'm quite doing. And if you just really have a lot of stress, as I'm having, then it's not good. And so you should definitely sleep. This is my real advice. So for you, just please sleep. And I do have to see that, oh my god, I have every single fucking program I do kind of have is open right now. I do not know why, but I do just have to close it so that he's not really loud. Because this shouldn't be the case. Because the recording would then be just really, really... No. Really kinda fucked. So, let's close everything down. And tomorrow, just to spoil you a little bit, tomorrow will come a really grand hand of posts. So they're just really great, and I'm just really looking forward to how they perform. And I do really force myself to just think about different kinds of posts every single time. So I do think that just Instagram lives from just really a great of variety of posts and pictures and kinds of posts. So tomorrow there will be something that maybe a lot of people might be confused about, but it is quite funny, I think, and or it could be quite funny and or a little bit irritating, and this is also funny. So I'm pretty much looking forward to it, definitely. But before I lose so much fucking time, I will just start with meta programs, which seem to be how your brain processes information. And I do think this is so fucking important, because I guess if you just change this fact, so how you just really process every information on all the things you see or hear or taste or smell or whatever, this will just really create a lot opportunities, first of all, and second of all, a lot of change. So he gives a really long example, and this is why I've just stopped here, because this was a really long part of it. So meta programs, and I do think, let's actually close you down, or do it like this. Sorry for being so slow. But yeah, so everything is good. An example. Getting to know Jim. Jim believes a long time is a very short time for most people. He is married, he has 13 Burger Kings. Okay, what is life about? He believes life is a journey. What kind of journey? A path A to B. So you know what the path is? Yes. What if the path doesn't turn out the way you thought? You take a detour. What's the reward? Uncertainty, variety. What's relationship about? Partnership, no fun, be yourself or by yourself. What does your partner do? Push you at the right times, support, love you even if you're off the path. So I do just hope that you got what Jim was saying and what I was just saying, I think I do have to read it again. So, no, I don't. So Jim wants to know the system, just cut to the chase or case, show me what works right. Jim, amen. Jim's style works really well in an environment where you can lead in an authority position where people see him as a superior than they are. Like in the military, Jim confirms he's fired them easily, so he would fire them easily. He values certainty, one of the top two, and significance. How much does this man value love? A lot, because he brightens up when speaking up about his wife, and he mentions support and love you when you're off path. Tony says Jim is a love bug, but learned that you can't be a love bug and really have certainty. If you open too much, you risk. So Jim went for another strategy, going for certainty and significance. Because if I am certain and significant, I'll have enough within me and feel good about me that I can love, and along the way he found a partner to share it all with. He has a motive for love and verity. In fact, he believes that if he is certain and significant, he can enjoy the ride. He has got his 4 major needs met, so he goes to the next 2. And I think it's just some kind of based as this pyramid of needs I have once shown. So it's just like you just really need the fundamental of the pyramid to just go every step up. So until you are just at the very upper end, which is I think self-fulfillment or something like this. And I do have to plug in everything because I'm running out of energy. I'm running out of fucking energy. But yeah. Tony's listening for his driving force and his map. The way he's gonna meet those needs, all 6, but especially certainty and significance. He is listening to global beliefs, what life is about, what's a long time, what are relationships about. Tony guesses that part of his identity is being an achiever and a leader. He's a successful man, and that's part of his identity. That's gonna help Tony understand what influences him, and Tony has to communicate to him the way he would listen. For Tony, it's easy because there is a part of him. I just reminded myself on turning the do not disturb mode on so that there will not be any music in the background. And the funny thing about this thing is that this video actually got claimed for copyright reasons. So I won't be able to monetize it someday after, but so I don't care at all. It's a great episode still. And Tony has to communicate to him the way he would listen. For Tony, it's easy because there's a part of him like Jim. You influence Jim by entering into Jim's world. Definitely. Emotions. Where do you live? Tony Robbins says you should find what emotions are the most often feeling. So Tony Robbins says you should find what emotions are they most often feeling. They are. So I think he just means that you should find out what these persons are feeling the most times. So if they are angry the most of the time, or if they are happy most of the time, or if they are, sad most of the time. So I do think that emotions, even though in our society we just tend to be like a little bit ignoring them, you shouldn't, because your emotions really show you some things that you can't actually see or might not be seeing at the moment or just ignoring at the moment. And through your emotions, you really, just get brought into the present and just really think about what it is now like and what you should be changing right now, because your emotions won't just appear in the future or were there in the past because you've done something in the present. They are there because there was something recently. So, really keeping an eye on your emotions and seeing what emotions other people have is actually another thing that I do think and believe in, that it is pretty important, yeah. On average, we have a half dozen emotions or less, and we get to those states any way we can. It's the language they use, it's what they focus on, switch what they focus on towards what they want rather than what they don't want. And this is actually some kind of thing that Tony is always referring to, that you should actually be focusing on what you actually want and not what you do not want. Because if you do just really force yourself to focus on what you don't want, then you really just get what you don't want. Because, yeah, it's the same thing as if I say to you, and this is also an experiment Tony made with a public audience or just in a studio, some kind of situation. He just asked the audience or look for a brown color, look for something that's brown. And everyone was, looking around, searching for some brown things. And then he said, now stop it. And now tell me if there was any red object in the room. And nobody was just saying, yeah, there was a red stool or he has a red t-shirt or whatever. So you're really looking for, or you're really getting what you're looking for. If you look for brown, you will get brown. If you look for brown but you just want red, you will still get brown and do not have red. So yeah, this was actually a pretty fucking interesting experiment to really emphasize this point. People go where they live. They find in the environment what triggers their emotions, and then they blame their environment. Blaming your environment is the stupidest fucking shit you could ever do. Because yeah, if you do just blame somebody else, you put somebody else in the position of being able to change everything, rather than yourself. Which means that if you put yourself in a position where you are responsible, and I do quite often talk about the same fucking thing, so if you do put yourself in a position where you are just really able, or you are just, responsible for everything, you do just, bring yourself into a position where you are actually also able to change everything, because you're the only person who is responsible for everything. So, which means that if you just blame somebody else, you can't change anything about it. But if you are responsible for everything, you can change something, and you are the only one who can change something. An example of Tony's seminar when 9/11 happened. The woman who stood up screaming, "We had to kill them all," and went into a rage frenzy. We used the environment to meet our needs. She got certainty by getting really angry. She got connection. Everyone was paying attention. So I do want to read it again. This is an example of Tony's seminar when 9/11 happened. The woman who stood up screaming, "We had to kill them all," and went into a rage frenzy. We used the environment to meet our needs. She got certainty by getting really angry. She got connection. Anyone was paying attention. So to give you a little bit context, and I do actually know the story because this was actually part of a podcast Tony was giving. So he had actually a seminar on 9/11, or just, I think it's really a day after 9/11 happened. So it was a real tragedy, and there were actually people in the audience who just lost the parents, or just people related to them or friends of them. It was horrible, and I just think about it as pretty horrible. But Tony was like, yeah, he will still do the seminar. But this woman was just kind of, for her it was like, we can't do this seminar right now because there were people dying yesterday. We can't do it right now, just because there were no. I think she hadn't lost anyone, but everything seemed so wrong for her. And this is the story behind this one. And so she really just got angry because Tony still wanted to do the seminar, but there was something and I'm pretty sorry for that, I do not remember which was the whole point of the story, but at the end, she got connection because everyone was paying attention to her. Step 2, get leverage. Leverage is a word that I just really hear quite a lot of times, especially in podcasts of Gary Vee and all these people, but rather business-wise than just self-development wise or emotion wise or whatever. So Tony Robbins says that leverage happens when your brain and body becomes one and you go, this is it, no more. When you hit an emotional threshold. So when failing to change is more painful than all the other options, leverage must be immediate. Immediate pleasure for changing now and immediate pain for not changing now. People don't change because the habits fill some of their needs. For example, smoking makes you feel comfortable, it changes your state, it creates variety, you connect with yourself and other smokers. But if your health becomes too critical, or if someone you love deeply hates cigarettes, now you start getting a leverage. I do kind of not get it by now, so I do just read it again. So I give myself the opportunity to understand it once more. So Tony Robbins says that leverage happens when your brain and body becomes one and you go like, this is it and no more. And so when you hit an emotional threshold, when failing to change is more painful, so when failing to change is more painful than all the other options, leverage must be immediate pleasure for changing now and immediate pain for not changing now. So I still don't get it. I don't know, maybe, yeah, never mind. So how do you know what's the leverage? You try different things. And if you know what their two biggest needs are, then you know where to look for. Sometimes the trigger can be physical, example of stopping smoking by giving pain every time someone lights a cigarette. You can easily get to change someone with that kind of leverage. But those people then take up eating or something else later on. Yeah, totally true. Which he was actually referring to in the first kind of upper part of this article or of the summary, that if you just it kind of, how should I say? I do not remember it exactly. This is the bad part about it, but I do remember it a little bit. So, if somebody has a habit of something negative like smoking, and if you do just attack their smoking and only the smoking, and not really the psychology beneath smoking, so why he is actually smoking, and so on, and if you only just quite change the smoking or just switch the smoking with something else, the same thing will happen. So if he as he was saying right now, people will then just start binge eating, or they will just start watching, binge watching Netflix, or they will start drinking. The thing is, if you then just really go to the root of their problem, so it's most of the time psychological reason for why they smoke or whatever, and if you change that, you can actually just really prevent them from binge eating, smoking, drinking, and whatever. The global situation. When you find a global situation, you help someone get out of pain and into pleasure by finding something they value more than pain. People keep being in pain because in their belief system, the pain meets some of their needs. Changing will take away some of the needs. With pain, they are connected with themselves, which is something I do quite not understand. And therefore, I'm pretty happy to see that he's actually giving a pretty long example. I hope it's written a little bit better than the first one, because the first one was quite really talking against talking, which is, being read not that simple to understand in terms of the sentences. So in Hawaii, a woman started splitting personality during a Tony Robbins event. What needs is she fulfilling? She was raped by her father and then brought into psychiatry, raped by her doctor, which is really just fucked up, this situation. Splitting personality was a way to get out of pain. Certainty and verity, you create movies and significance, first person ever with the issue and connection. People take care of me. Tony has to increase pain to that behavior and find something she values more, so she has something to go after. I do think about something. It was a video I've been watching about Tony Robbins actually creating the pain for someone who is really into pizza. And I do have been referring to it in the last episode as well. So the last episode we've been discussing this summary, and I do think it's just the same thing. So there was a guy who was, pretty fat. Sorry for saying that, but he was pretty fat. And he really liked pizza. It was kind of his love, or it seemed to be his love. And he was really into it. But this was also the problem, because he was fat, it was unhealthy, he was really fucking fat. So I think he just wanted to do something about it. And so what Tony did is he just gave him a pizza. Actually, it was kind of like his favorite pizza. There were just some things, not on it, which he liked very, very much. But the thing is, he gave him the pizza, and this guy had to visualize the pizza being very gross. So really fucking very gross. So gross that he wouldn't eat it. And he created such a leverage, such a pain for eating this pizza, because it was such gross in his visualization. It was so he wouldn't eat it. And he just, made him really, really making it gross by visualizing it very gross. And therefore he just, I think, created a lot of pain in this person so that he will never eat a pizza again. But let's see. And I do actually, this is quite a funny thing, because this is actually another example, which is from a podcast of him. So as I remember correctly, so this girl or this woman was raped by her father, and then by her doctor in psychiatry, or whatever it is called, I don't know. Anyways, she then really has been really hating her husband, if I remember correctly. I do hope, and I do just read it, to not lose time again. And Tony goes, I know you believe all your personalities, and that's very colorful, but I know you are Mary. You are an amazing woman. This adaptive behavior is impressive as you go through it and survived. And he actually compliments her. So and then hits her saying, but you are here for a reason, and that reason is pain. He said it low and takes a pause. Now Tony is steering the pain to get momentum towards the change. He keeps going, saying that she's creating so much uncertainty to the people around her that they pay attention, but don't actually love her. She goes, I'm Superman, and Tony replies, no, you're not, show me the S. The first time I was going through it audio-wise, so the podcast version of this, I just always thought what does he mean with the S? And then I quite, thought about it actual Superman has an S on his fucking chest, so this is the reason for why he said that. Just to really explain so fucking unfunny things. He has her admit her multiple personalities give her uncertainty to herself as well to the people around her, and it's a lot of work to keep all that up. She replies she's one of the first MDP, and Tony goes, yeah, and how many there are? And there are now. You're pretty much a dime dozen. But you know what? They all claim they can't change, and there hasn't been one who managed so far. Now changing would bring significance and love. I do get it. By just saying, there was nobody else who actually did it, you just create the framework for this certain person that she actually wants to change, because through this she can then say, then I would be significant. This is my opportunity to really get the attention or whatever. And in terms of the love, he a little bit up there was referring to, nobody actually loves you because, you're just such a, some sort of crazy personality. You just create attention but not actual love. Do you like children? Yes. They have lots of imagination like you. You should write children books. Now, no, he is creating It's actually now he's creating a path for her. I see. I see. I do see it. Example 3, a friend whose wife had cheated on him and his anger was unchecked that he couldn't even connect with his daughter. What made him shift was the realization that the love for his daughter was much more important and transcending than his anger and mind. He realized through questions. So why I'm so angry, why I'm doing this, why I'm doing that. And this is actually a pretty great advice, because we all should ask ourselves more questions, because through questions, at my point of view, and I do quite think that I'm doing it subconsciously, so I'm always just questioning what I'm doing and just ask myself, why I'm doing this, if this is really bringing me to who I want to be and to where I want to be. And this is really great to just not really being crazy about it and just asking yourself all the fucking time, no, you shouldn't be doing this. But really just understanding yourself a little better, first of all. And second of all, just quite checking if you are on the really good road, if you are just really heading towards your actual goals. I'm sorry for my nose, and I might sound a little bit different, yeah. Example 3, the CEO of a large organization had been with his right arm for many years, but a few facts made him realize he needed to fire him. But he was in pain as he valued loyalty very highly. When he realized that his real commitment to the organization to make the mission come through, he felt he was ready to make it happen. That was the point of leverage. The mission of the company was higher. Okay, yeah, it's often it just seems to be very easy, but we all though just kind of don't see it. Therefore it's just really great to have, another one just talking with you about, maybe your company or what you're doing, or just getting some opinions, even though especially Gary Vee, as I do think he is quite one of the only ones who really just lives by his own mind. So he knows it best, and he just, but he listens. This is the part of it. He just doesn't ask for opinions. He listens to the audience and people, how do they react, and so on. But yeah. The third example, a man's entire life was about contribution. He wanted to be significant, and he made it through a business and making him lots of money. But don't make it just for himself. But didn't make it just for himself. Make a difference to other people so they love you. Be significant, contribute, you'll get love. He was successful but lost all his money and his family's money in the stock market crash. Not only he can't give, but now he took from others. His life blueprint is the opposite of reality. Tony tries to take leverage but can't find it anywhere. He is just hell-bent in giving back to the family by killing himself and giving them back with his life insurance policy. That way he can give and be significant. At that point Tony takes it away from him, saying he filmed the whole episode and he'll release it. Now he can't kill himself anymore. So that way he can. So I do have to read it again. Sorry. At that point, Tony takes it away from him by saying he filmed the whole episode and he'll release it. And now he can't kill himself anymore. This was actually also a part of this podcast. I think you do can find it. Just go to Tony Robbins' podcast, and there you search for an episode that's maybe from actually I think 2018 or 17. Actually, he's not posting that much episodes, so it's quite easy to find. It was a pretty long one, so I think it was actually 2 hours. And yeah, maybe you find something, I hope. Yeah. So the look on a man's face, he exploded. Now his suicide was not significant anymore if he took his life away. Yeah, I quite understand how, and I do just have to turn on the lights. I do kind of understand what Tony is doing all the time. He's just taking the significance away from the people, and I do now understand why significance is such an important factor. And therefore, I do much more believe in what Dale Carnegie in his book How to Win Friends and Influence People was telling me, which is that we all want to feel important. And yeah, we all want to feel important. It seems to be pretty important for us to feel important because, yeah, it's just the same thing as being significant. We all just, in some way, want to feel significant or important. And everybody has its own way, either by clothing, either by being suicidal, either by being, I don't know, there are just a lot of fucking options. The thing is, if you just take their significance or their importance away by what they're just right now doing and, giving it to something else, like, actually making children's books or just not letting them kill themselves, you just create another framework for them so that they actually, feel just more significant by doing something else rather than what they initially wanted to do. I love these examples. Oh my god, I love this. I love this episode, I really love this summary as well because I do think this is actually something I haven't known. It quite sounds a little bit arrogant maybe, but I do quite think often it is like, this is only some kind of other version of what I already know in terms of actual motivating people. A lot of books or a lot of summaries just, really talk about the same shit, and so therefore this is really something new, and I'm very glad that very glad that I've found that one. So example 4, a woman who was a raw food eater, which is, I think, nothing that you should be doing, especially raw meat. I do not know, maybe I'm just getting it a little bit wrong. Maybe they're just only eating raw food that you can actually eat, but not like something poisonous. But Tony asks her how long she will live if she keeps going like she's going, and she says, no long. Since she said it herself, now Tony thinks he has got some leverage, but it wasn't enough. So he said, Lisa, when you die and your daughter will be the pallbearer. What is a pallbearer? Sorry, I do just have to look it up. I 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 have to look it up. Bearer? Actually not funny, but didn't expect it to be like this. So how do you think she'll feel knowing you could have changed but you didn't? She paused and started crying. Now Tony think she got her. Now Tony thought he got her, actually. But she cries and tells him, sobbing, true, but I can't change. Tony repeated his mantra, there was always a way, and prodded again, do you think her new mom will be a meat eater? Now that snapped her. And this is really something, I do quite feel that often it is really something that could, this is really destroying their frameworks. Just really their thoughts. It's really just destroying them, and it really makes sense for me now, and this is great, and I love this feeling right now. It's really great right now, and do hope that you got as much out of this one as I'm just getting out of this. And I think especially reframing or framing is actually also a pretty important one. So Tony Robbins says that to change someone's behavior, you change people's state. If you leave them where they are, they stay stuck in a negative state and won't budge. And you do that through psychology and focus. So focus is what they focus on and what it means for them. Ask questions whenever possible and tell stories so they get a bit in a trance. I'm just thinking about how I could implement these strategies or these informations that I'm now getting into my posts and my relationships and me. Yeah, actually me. So focus what they focus on and what it means for them. Ask questions whenever possible and tell stories so they get a bit in trance. If I tell you something and we have great report, maybe you'll listen, but if I ask you, what do you think this might mean in this context, then I make you come up with your own resources, and you can't deny your own experiences. Yeah, so have a frame that interrupts that pattern is also important. You can ask a question which is really bizarre, example of Tony speaking to a suicidal guy and he tells him, is it because of the red shoes? What? Because they are fucking red. So if I tell you something and we have great rapport, maybe you will listen, but if I ask you, what do you think this might mean in this context? Then I make you come up with your own resources, and you can't deny your own experiences. Have a frame that interrupts their patterns is also important. So yeah, just had to do it a little bit more clear. I should especially, or in general, talk a little bit more clearly so that you actually can understand everything that I'm saying. Yeah. An example, Tony spoke to a guy who complains her daughter is stubborn and too lively all the times. And you could say, yeah, I like that, kind of reminds of me someone. Do you know someone who's really stubborn and makes them successful? I want to read it again, sorry. And you could say, yeah, I like that, kind of reminds me of someone. So I'm sorry. It kind of reminds me of someone. Do you know someone who is really stubborn and makes them successful? He builds rapport, makes a question, and interrupts patterns. Follow-up question could be, do you think there will be any place in the future it could be really useful for her to assert herself? Or he might be joking, or he might be adding a joke. Do you think when a boy takes her to the backseat of her car and she doesn't want to be there, it will be useful? Instantaneous reframing. Totally great. It's actually amazingly simple, but amazingly effective as I just go through it. Just some kind of, just really using it for myself or on myself actually. And what I would say in these situations, and I would be just, yeah, totally right. Being stubborn in this situation is just great. It's just good. It would just prevent her from being raped or whatever. And this is good. So why I'm so just stubborn myself, but thinking like, yeah, she's so stubborn and she can't live her life and this shouldn't be like it and blah blah blah. Even though, and this is just an additional thought to this, we are all individuals. And I do quite think that parents are so fucking responsible and they have such a fucking responsibility for their children. Not only in terms of, yeah, they won't get hurt or whatever, but to really make them to people that themselves, so the children themselves, are proud of. So to really make someone, or just, how should I say, I just say make someone, without actually, and this is something I think every fucking parent should do, even though I do not have any clue about parenting, don't get me wrong, but I think you shouldn't really implement your own thoughts and especially your own values into your child. So your child might be an athlete and you are not, and you just tell them, yeah, just study for something great like medicine because you should be a doctor, but she actually, or he actually wants to be an athlete because he's athletic, because he was born athletic, and or a girl because she was born like 5'10" and really coordinated and whatever. And this is just it. Just do not give them your values because they will have their own values. The thing is up to them really being able to think about their own values. You do just are really responsible for how their life will be. You just you just are responsible for, what persons they get until they really can think for themselves. And also in terms of this really comes up to their environment, to their parents, to their friends, to what they surround themselves with. Also in terms of personalities, not only in terms of really physical personalities, but also like virtual personalities. Because I do think that I am now the person I am because I do surround myself every day for multiple hours, just a lot, with people who are successful, people who have built a business in their life, people who are just really self-aware, people who are great at my point of view. This is my value. I do think these are great people because they have achieved something. Maybe this is just my value. I don't know. Probably. But I think I wouldn't have been, or I would now not be this kind of person if I haven't been looking for these people. I haven't been looking at these people. I haven't been watching these people. I haven't been really learning from these people and or adopting their way of thinking and so on. So in terms of this, I do just think that parents are so fucking responsible for their children, or how their children become, what persons they become. Yeah, I do think and I do hope I kind of explained what I really mean. I do think and hope, more hope than think. I hope that you get what I actually mean. But pre-framing. Tony Robbins says to tell someone in advance what to pay attention to and what it means is the most powerful way to change someone. The pre-framing works like the placebo effect, which is extremely powerful, by the way. An example is, what I'm gonna do right now is the most powerful pattern ever. There wasn't one person who didn't heal. You will love this one. If you are with someone who's skeptical, immediately say, did you know what they are thinking? You know what? I don't know if this really makes sense. It probably doesn't, but why don't we give it a try? Which will immediately build rapport. So, I'll read it again. If you are with someone who is skeptical, immediately say that you know what they are thinking. And this is now in quotation marks. You know what? I don't know if this is really, or if this really makes sense. It probably doesn't, but why don't we give it a try, which will immediately build rapport. Totally, because you just, are really connected with this person, because, yeah. An example would be, Tony went to coach the Spurs. He was extremely badly pre-framed as they invited all the take it easy ticket takers and Tony went to coach the Spurs. He was extremely badly pre-framed as they invited all the take it easy ticket takers and encourage with white with most overachievers players black. It's so incredibly hard to read this one fucking paragraph. So he was extremely bad pre-framed as they invited all the take it easy ticket takers and orange white, and with most overachievers players black. The Spurs had won 9 matches in a row, and there's Dennis Rodman in the team who walked in, sat down with his sunglasses and ripped the workbook in front of him. He is introduced by someone who doesn't know how to introduce, whom forgets what Tony had told him, and that destroys his pre-frame even further. The white guys in the back are clapping and the whole team is actually not giving a shit. Now Tony needs to adjust the pre-frame. He says, you are probably wondering why I'm here. You just won 9 games in a row, you haven't had a day off, and it's your first day at home, and now you've got some white guy standing in front of the room who's never played basketball for his entire life, trying to show you how you can play better when you just won 9 in a row. Now Rodman is looking up. He says, those are good questions to ask. I wouldn't be happy if someone took my one day off pacing their reality. If I have nothing to do with that, but I am here and I am responsible to deliver for you. You only gotta be here 1 hour. You're gonna be here for 3. You have the choice to leave after 1 hour, but you won't. And I tell you why. Because I will deliver results to you that you never seen before in 3 hours. And I'll deliver so much in the first hour that you're gonna stay, or you wanna stay. And you will see that while I may not know how to play basketball, I worked with the finest people in the world in all these categories and went bam bam bam. I might not have all the answers, but there is another reason you gotta listen to me. You never made it past the first round of the playoffs. Now everybody looked. I am not suggesting I will get you beyond, because only you can do that, and I know there's only a few things keeping you from there. He created a frame that he doesn't believe he's got all the answers, but he has got the answers. That he doesn't deserve to be there, but he does. A frame that he is gonna deliver because he's done it. But before starting, I would like to make a prayer to guide us through. He knew the group is religious and always says a prayer before the game. He has done his research. He had heard they make crazy resounding prayers, but this one was super weak. So he makes a joke about it, saying it looked like they don't hope to achieve much there. So he does one more thing. He takes his jacket away, gives it to the captain and says, I don't deserve to wear this yet. If by the time we finish I deliver so much value, then you give it back to me and I'll wear it with pride. If I haven't, throw it on my face or having. If I haven't, throw it on my face for having taken your time, but that won't happen. Let's begin. He created a frame that he doesn't believe he's got all the answers, but he's got the answer. That he doesn't deserve to be there, but he does. A frame that he's gonna deliver because he's done. And this is actually the same fucking paragraph I've just read before. If he had just started talking, it would have fallen terribly flat. He gets Rodman on stage and said, I don't know about you, Rodman, but I saw you on the other day signing autographs and taking time for those kids. I know you want to be unique and have your own space, but I know you are a good guy. Now they are participating, but not at the level he's used to. He feels it's also because the people on the back are drowning them out. Tony thinks the players don't want to associate with them. So here he says, okay, your hour is up. I know you guys played with me and when you usually don't, and I've gotten you value, but we haven't scratched the surface here to get the results you want. I need to tell you 2 things. Frankly, all the people on the back get out of here. Leave. Leave, the boys and me need to have a talk. Then he says, listen, I appreciate the attention you have given me, but I am not like one of those people in the back. I ask you one question and you're not. That is not peak performance. I'm here delivering for you and you gotta deliver back. You can leave now for 15 minutes, or leave forever. If you come back here, I have one requirement. You play full out with me. If I ask you a question, you answer full out. If I tell you to jump, you say how high. And if you don't want to do it, I'm totally cool with it because I'm here to deliver your results. If you get back here, you will. If you don't, you don't, and he storms out. Great one. Example 2, today we're going to talk about some great opportunities coming up in the company VS. I have some news about changes in the company that will affect many of you. Changes the tone hugely. My note, if you want to read more about the importance of preframing and persuasion, take a look at Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. Cialdini is actually, reframing. I do want to go through reframing very quickly even though we're just really 15 minutes in, and I do have to work out today as well, and do have to sleep as well today a little bit more, because as you can see, I'm actually recording it fairly early in the day, because I do had 2 or actually 4 hours less at school. This is great because I do now have the time to record for a little bit longer. Tony Robbins says that pre-framing happens when someone has a problem and you change what it means. What things mean is determined to what you compare and contrast them to. Example of John Belushi, I actually think he means reframing and not pre-framing. Example of John Belushi or whatever, he forgot how life was when he was struggling. You make sure you never forget your roots. The ultimate frame of reference for Tony was taking his kids to some of the worst places. Make sure you compare yourself to what empowers you, and make sure what you reframe to the people you speak to align with their core values and beliefs. An example would be, if I value learning and you reframe something as having fun, it's not as powerful. It's better if done with questions and after you interrupted the pattern so they pay attention. If they are in a stuck state, it won't work. Another example, your friend complains about the dates he has been going to are a failure, and you say maybe God is protecting you from these men because he has someone special lined up for you. Yeah, okay. You let them see their situation in another context. A problem in a situation is a benefit in another. Yeah. Content reframing, give some input they didn't have or tell them something they believe is not true. Okay. It's pretty hard to understand reframing. I do read the introduction once more. So Tony Robbins says that reframing happens when someone has a problem and you change what it means. What things mean is determined to what you compare and contrast them to. Okay. And with this being said, I'm so fucking pumped about this episode, and I hope, and I actually know that you just get something out of it. And you probably and hopefully will use what you learn through my episodes. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and nothing more than such a fucking lot of greatness and nothing more than happiness. I wish you're so fucking happy as no one else on this fucking earth. So, I love you. I wish I see you the next time, so actually tomorrow. And I wish you health, wealth, success, happiness, that you're giving back and you have a great legacy. I see you.